So here's the thing. While everyone was focused on Justin Baldoni's devastating $400 million lawsuit getting completely thrown out by a judge, something else happened that's hot off the press. And you guys, this just dropped and the timing couldn't be more interesting.
The motion to compel is denied. This is a win for Justin Baldoni.
On June 16, 2025, Judge Louis J. Liman issued a ruling that gave Justin Baldoni his first real victory in months. The judge flat out denied Blake Lively's motion to compel. Now, if you're not familiar with legal terminology, a motion to compel is basically when one side goes to the judge and says, "Hey, these people aren't giving us the documents we demanded, so force them to hand everything over."
To produce materials in response to certain subpoenas and requiring compliance in March of 2025. Give us the info now.
But here's where it gets really interesting. We're talking about 9 specific people connected to Wayfarer Studios who have been completely stonewalling Blake Lively's legal team for over 3 months. The court documents reveal their names: Tara Hanks, Mitz Toskovich, Ahmed Musiol, Ashmi Elizabeth Dang, Shekinah Reese, Jerry S. Blackmun, AJ Marbury, Dion Suleiman, and Jennifer Benson.
Blake Lively states that as of June 11th, the Wayfarer third parties have not produced any document responsive to the subpoenas.
These aren't household names, but they're clearly important enough that Blake Lively's team desperately wants whatever documents they have. The really shocking part? As of June 11th, 2025, these 9 people hadn't produced a single document. Not one, despite being served with subpoenas all the way back in March 2025. That's 3 full months of just nothing. And when pressed about it, their lawyers basically said, "We're still collecting documents, and oh, by the way, this New York court doesn't even have jurisdiction over us." And you know what? They were right.
The Wayfarer third parties state that they are still collecting documents and additionally argue that this court lacks jurisdiction to compel compliance.
The subpoenas required compliance in Los Angeles, California, except for one person who was supposed to comply in Atlanta, Georgia. Federal Rule 45 is pretty clear about this. If you want to force someone to produce documents, you have to do it in the court district where they're located. It's like trying to get a California speeding ticket enforced by a New York traffic court. It just doesn't work that way. Dave Neal from the Rush Hour podcast, who actually broke this story, put it perfectly.
It might not be a large win, but following several losses, sometimes you just need to right that ship.
It might not be a large win, but sometimes you just need to get in the win column. And that's exactly what this was for Justin Baldoni's team. A small but crucial procedural victory that nobody saw coming. So what's Justin Baldoni's legal team doing now? Well, his lawyer Brian Friedman is not going down without a fight. And you guys, his response to that $400 million dismissal was absolutely explosive.
I'm really hoping that she doesn't drop her lawsuit because she's on a false victory tour and she's afraid of the truth.
Friedman immediately came out swinging, saying, "Ms. Blake Lively and her team's predictable declaration of victory is false, so let us be clear about the latest ruling." He pointed out that while the defamation claims got tossed, Judge Liman actually gave them permission to amend 4 out of 7 claims against Blake Lively.
I think there are 3 other claims that you could refile, correct?
There's actually 4, and the judge was very specific about them. And those claims still exist. The judge just wants us to replead them and gave us a roadmap on how to do that.
These are focused on contract interference, basically arguing that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds improperly interfered with Justin Baldoni's business relationships. But here's where it gets really intense. Friedman said, "This case is about false accusations of workplace harassment and retaliation and a non-existent smear campaign, which Ms. Blake Lively's own team conveniently describes as untraceable because they cannot prove what never happened." He's essentially calling Blake Lively's entire story a fabrication.
We're going to show that there was no sexual harassment, and we're going to show that there was no smear campaign. And it's really just that simple.
And then Friedman dropped this bombshell. Most importantly, Ms. Blake Lively's own claims are no truer today than they were yesterday, and with the facts on our side, we march forward with the same confidence that we had when Ms. Lively and her cohorts initiated this battle, and look forward to her forthcoming deposition, which I will be taking.
Gosh, are they selling tickets for that deposition? I'd love to sit in.
Did you catch that? Brian Friedman personally plans to depose Blake Lively. That means he's going to put her under oath and grill her about every detail of her allegations. Sources say this could happen as early as this winter. And honestly, it's going to be must-see legal drama. The strategy is clear. Justin Baldoni's team has until June 23rd to file their amended complaint, focusing on those contract claims.
Intentional interference with contract against Blake and Ryan, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, negligent interference with prospective economic advantage, breach of the implied duty of covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And those claims still exist.
They're betting everything on proving that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds conspired to take control of It Ends With Us away from Justin Baldoni, essentially hijacking his own movie. Friedman also mentioned something really interesting. He thanked the organic show of support from the public and for the dedication of the internet sleuth community, who continue to cover the case with discernment and integrity. Translation: there's a whole army of people online who believe Baldoni's version of events and are actively investigating this case.
Let me tell you about my experience with Justin Baldoni. I have known him and his family for over a decade. Justin Baldoni started Wayfarer Entertainment by a way to make an imprint and a positive impact in this lifetime.
But Blake Lively's legal team isn't sitting around waiting for Baldoni's next move. Oh no, they're going on the offensive in the most dramatic way possible by dragging Taylor Swift's biggest enemy into this mess.
This puppy's going to trial, baby.
On June 12th, just 3 days after their major court victory, Lively's lawyers served subpoenas on Scooter Braun and his company Hybe America. And you guys, if you know anything about pop culture drama, you know this is absolutely wild. Scooter Braun, for those who don't know, became public enemy #1 in Taylor Swift's world back in 2019 when his company bought the rights to Swift's first 6 albums.
Taylor versus Scooter set alight the whole industry.
This was a betrayal of an artist.
The whole thing turned into this massive public feud, with Swift calling Braun's actions her worst-case scenario. She literally had to re-record all those albums just to own her own music again. So why is Blake Lively going after Taylor Swift's nemesis? It all comes down to crisis PR manager Melissa Nathan.
Here are some things that don't quite add up. But what was Melissa Nathan's job if she wasn't planting stories? Like, what does crisis PR do? And what was she doing if she wasn't doing that?
Remember Nathan? She's one of the people Lively claims masterminded the social media smear campaign against her. Well, it turns out that Hybe America, Braun's company, owns a majority stake in Nathan's crisis PR firm, the Agency Group. Blake Lively's team wants every document, every email, every text message that Hybe America has about Nathan's work for Justin Baldoni. They're basically saying, if you funded the people who attacked our client, we want to see exactly what you knew and when you knew it. The timing here is absolutely brutal for Braun. Just weeks ago, he finally settled his feud with Taylor Swift.
Being seen as the villain on the internet was pretty tough for him.
Gave her a chance to purchase her masters back, and she just said no.
She got her masters back in late May 2025. Now he's getting dragged into a completely different celebrity legal war because of his business connections. What makes this even more complicated is that both Scooter Braun and Justin Baldoni have been friends for years. Back in 2018, they even did a joint roundtable discussion about men and the Me Too movement. In that video, Braun literally says, "We are all flawed," which, given current circumstances, feels pretty ominous.
We've been talking about the whole time, we are all flawed. When you say, are you man enough? Are you brave enough? Are we brave enough to step forward with great intent and still acknowledge that we might be wrong in that intent?
A source close to the situation told reporters that this subpoena is designed to hoover up any information about the crisis PR work Nathan did for Justin Baldoni. If Blake Lively can prove that Braun's company helped fund or coordinate attacks against her, it could be devastating evidence for the March 2026 trial. So where does all this lead? Buckle up, because this legal war is just getting started, and the timeline ahead is absolutely packed with explosive moments. First up, we've got June 23rd, 2025. That's the deadline for Justin Baldoni's team to file their amended complaint. This is make or break time for any remaining claims they want to pursue against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Brian Friedman has to craft contract interference allegations that can survive another motion to dismiss. And honestly, it's going to be really tough after that devastating 132-page ruling. Summer 2025 is going to be all about the Scooter Braun subpoena discovery battle. Hy-Vee America and Braun's lawyers are going to fight this tooth and nail, and we could see months of legal wrangling over what documents they have to turn over about Melissa Nathan's crisis PR work. But here's where it gets really interesting. Blake Lively's team has also filed for a protective order trying to block Justin Baldoni from getting access to her communications with Taylor Swift. Remember, Justin Baldoni previously subpoenaed Swift herself before dropping it in May, but he's still trying to get those text messages and emails between the two friends. Fall 25 could bring more motions to dismiss if Justin Baldoni successfully files his amended complaint. At that point, we'll see if his contract interference theory has any legal legs to stand on, or if this whole thing gets shut down permanently. Winter 25 is when things get really spicy. That's when depositions are scheduled to begin.
Gosh, are they selling tickets for that deposition? I'd love to sit in.
Brian Friedman has promised to personally depose Blake Lively, and you can bet that's going to be must-see legal drama. Ryan Reynolds will likely get deposed too, along with publicist Leslie Sloan and potentially dozens of other witnesses. But the big date everyone's watching is March 9th, 2026. That's when the full trial is scheduled to begin in New York federal court. If this case actually makes it to trial, we're talking about weeks of testimony about workplace harassment allegations, crisis PR campaigns, social media manipulation, and Hollywood power dynamics. And here's the thing that makes this even more complicated. There are actually 6 separate related lawsuits happening across multiple courts. Justin Baldoni is also suing his former publicist, Stephanie Jones, who he claims leaked damaging information. There are disputes over contracts, defamation claims flying in multiple directions, and everyone's suing everyone else. The financial stakes are enormous, too. Even though Justin Baldoni's $400 million case got dismissed, Blake Lively is now seeking attorney fees, treble damages, and punitive damages. We could be talking about millions of dollars in legal costs and damages before this is all over. What started as a workplace harassment complaint has turned into this sprawling legal war involving some of the biggest names in entertainment, crisis PR firms, major media outlets, and now even Taylor Swift's former nemesis. It's like a Hollywood soap opera, except it's all real and it's all happening in federal court. So there you have it. What started as a small procedural victory for Justin Baldoni has given us a window into just how complex and messy this legal battle has become. Blake Lively thought she could force 9 people to hand over potentially damaging documents, but jurisdictional technicalities saved them, at least for now. What do you think? Is this motion denial actually significant? Or is it just a tiny bright spot in what's been a complete legal disaster for Justin Baldoni? And what do you make of Blake Lively going after Scooter Braun? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown helped you understand the latest developments in this crazy legal war, hit that like button and subscribe for more celebrity legal drama breakdowns. Click that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.